Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Kimon Hatza and I'm a business attorney at GrowthCounsel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I represent a variety of companies across industries in business transactions with an emphasis on companies in the life sciences and technology spaces. Tonight, we're continuing our special series on life sciences leaders in the Delaware Valley. Before we get started, I want to remind our viewers that from time to time, financial issues relating to life sciences matters or companies will be discussed on the show. These discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since the show is pre-recorded and shown at a later time, the information may no longer be current. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transactions. I'm happy to have with me as my co-host this evening, Charlie Huntington. Charlie is the head of public relations for Life Sciences PA. Life Sciences PA is the voice of advancement for the life sciences in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Charlie, thanks for co-hosting.
Pleasure, Kimon.
Charlie, I'm sure Life Sciences PA has been dealing with the pandemic like the rest of us, probably doing their programs virtually and using mechanisms like we're using right now for the show. But I wanted to talk to you this evening, and I think our guests might like hearing about this, about a program that you and our friend Tom Hess have been running now for almost 5 years, I think. It's the Pharma Transition Group. And I was wondering whether you might take a minute or two and tell our viewers about that.
Absolutely, Kimon. Thanks for the chance to do this. So it's going on 5 years now that Tom Hess and I approached Chris Molyneux at Life Sciences PA and asked if we might be able to put a group together for senior life science leaders. We define that by they're at least director level within pharma, or they could be employed in medical devices, healthcare IT, life sciences, clinical research organizations, those types of industries. And we lose too many of these people to Boston, San Diego, San Francisco, Research Triangle Park. So we said, what could we do to help bring these people together? First of all, help them network in small groups around like-minded people who they may all be looking for a job at a large pharma, but they're looking for different roles within that pharma. So it allows senior leaders to get in a room, and basically the litmus test is if you can't bring your Rolodex and add to the discussion, then 1 + 1 won't equal 3, and you may not belong there. So it's not something we typically market. It's sort of like, I like to say it's like the bat cave where you'll know where it is if you need to know where it is. But about 375 senior leaders have come through. We share this list of who's come through and what their CV or their resume looks like with people who want to be on that list. So viewers can let me know if they'd like to receive that list. After about every 6 weeks, we do this program through Life Sciences PA, and there'll be 15 to 20 people who will show up each time.
That's great. And it's a terrific program. And I know it's been a big help to many people who have been displaced at one time or another. We have a terrific show tonight, Charlie, and I'm going to bring our guest out. Before I do, I just want to remind our viewers that if you have a question that you would like us to answer on a future show, watch this video to see how you do it.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
It's my great pleasure to introduce our special guest this evening, Dr. Saif Khalil. Dr. Khalil is the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Aevumed, Inc., a medical device company developing solutions for tendon repair with a current focus on rotator cuff tears. He began his career in the life sciences as a consultant with PA Consulting Group. His clients there included a number of well-known medical device and pharmaceutical companies, including, for example, Cordis Corporation, Johnson & Johnson Consumer Products, Pfizer, Shire, and others. After leaving PA Consulting, he joined Globus Medical, a spinal implant manufacturer, where he worked for 11 years in roles of increasing responsibility and authority, with his last position being Vice President of Neuromodulation for the Small Business Unit. Dr. Khalil has over 50 publications and scientific presentations, as well as provisional and pending patents in the US and internationally. He has a BS in mechanical engineering, an MS in materials engineering, and a PhD in mechanical engineering, the latter two from Drexel University. Saif, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kimon, and thank you, Charlie. Appreciate the opportunity.
Saif, what first attracted you to a career in the life sciences?
Well, it first started with my interest in science and engineering. I've always gravitated towards those areas and technologies from a very young age. And since then, I've been always tinkering with little gadgets and toys, and eventually went into engineering school. Finally, in engineering school, I found a very interesting subject called biomaterials. And through that exposure, I decided to look deeper into it and see how the engineering world works. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, where I can see there's a great challenge on how you can put medical implants or materials in general in the body, since the body is a challenging engineering environment in itself, just like space. But now you have to put something in the body where the temperatures are different than ambient temperature outside, and as well as the chemicals and other properties. So it's an interesting challenge, and that's how I started my career in this area.
So after having spent 15 or more years as a consultant and with a medical device company, why did you decide to start your own medical device company?
So aside from my engineering interest, I've always been interested in how the world works and how you can make things better. And the only way, in just experiencing and just looking at different inventions out there, the only way you can really improve life is that if it's affordable, if you can make, and if it actually affects people in a positive fashion. And so I realized that engineering really has a huge economic side to it. And from that point, I started looking more into how you can make something successful by selling it to people, but also making it more affordable. And they're only going to basically purchase it from you if it's worth it for them, right? So I was naturally gravitated towards that area. And I noticed going through graduate school is that it's one thing reading a book and understanding a subject, but it's a whole different story when you actually experience it. And so for that reason, I decided, before I can start a medical device company in engineering, which is my passion, but more importantly, how you can make it something that is reasonable and more affordable and meaningful for society. I decided I need to work in industry. I decided that there's more to what you can read online or reading books. Those are fantastic references, but actually seeing what's happening in the real world, interacting with people from all different walks of life. So I have an engineering background, so I know that's my strength. However, there's a whole side of running a business, as many of you and your viewers know. It includes sales, marketing, finance, HR, and many, many more, such as operations. So I decided to go into industry and learn as much as I can. And I did very well in industry. I think, I worked on some fantastic projects, but then I decided to, from that experience, learn and start applying it to the company that I was trying to develop on the long term.
How would you say your experience as a consultant and also as an executive at a medical device company, helped prepare you to start your own company?
Well, I feel fortunate that I was exposed to management consulting. I wasn't really actively looking for a management consulting firm, but I was exposed to it actually through my wife, she's a scientist, but she also has a great business interest, and so through her I got to know management consulting, and I thought it was a great marriage between engineering and also business management. A lot of my clients not only needed the technical aspect, but they actually needed someone to manage the project, bring strategic insights to the project and for the company as a whole. And that happened at different levels, not only designing a product, but just from a strategic planning perspective also for the company. So using that experience, I think, was a great benefit to me personally through my entire career, not just to start up a business, but also working in other companies as well, because it gave me a little more skills regarding how to interact with people, but also managing people from an early part of my career, and then how to grow a team and how to make sure that everyone has the same mission and has the same vision, and we're all working towards the same goals, basically. So I think consulting was a fantastic experience. I got to work with a lot of executives, and I got to see from an early age on how they think and and how a company operates from a high level. So I think it dramatically it helped me, obviously, in my business today. With Globus Medical, I think the experience was fantastic. I was reading a lot at the time. I was reading a lot about starting the business, but also understanding more about finance and how the economy works and how the world interacts within itself. And also a lot about people, their philosophy, visions, and how do people start companies? Why do they start companies? And I just found a lot of synergies with the way I was thinking and a lot of other people's thoughts. So when I worked with my last position, I decided to join that company and leave management consulting so I can work closer with people of that type of mindset, as well as get more exposure to details about medical device development, research, operations. Because one of the although management consulting was great from many aspects, as I just mentioned to you, you get to work at a high level in a lot of scenarios. So you really don't see in some cases, all the details that go behind the scenes in order to make a product come out the door. So really, with that last opportunity that I had, I was exposed to all of that, and I think I provided everything I can to make sure that I performed. But while I was performing, I wanted to learn. I actually took a pay cut from my last job as a management consultant. I had a great career. They actually offered me a scholarship for an MBA program. So at Ivy League school. So it was great. But I thought getting the experience was more valuable, even through a pay cut, because learning to me was really the most valuable asset that I can gain over time to help me start this business.
One last question quickly, and I like to ask people who make a transition and start up a company, what on a day-to-day basis, what do you find to be the most challenging aspect of your position running Aevumed?
Obviously, there are a lot of challenges, but one of the things that come to mind is prioritizing tasks. You can always come up with a lot of tasks that are all very important, but how do you prioritize them? And learning the hard way is sometimes you can't get everything done because you have limited resources, especially at the early stage. So you have to make those decisions early on. Another thought is, believing yourself, I found, was always very helpful and throughout my career. But that was one thing that I found even more important, especially starting a company, because there's so many challenges. So That in itself is a challenge. So just reminding yourself, why are you doing this? What is the goal? What is the vision? And just sticking to it through the whole time. So those are some of the major challenges I faced.
Okay, Charlie?
Saif, would you tell us about Aevumed, please?
Sure. So we have a vision for excelling life experience. So that's our big goal vision. But currently we're on a mission, and our mission is basically to improve the quality of patients with rotator cuff tears. So we're really focused in the extremity market, specifically in soft tissue at the shoulder level. That's where we're focusing on today. The company really has a very unique approach to its business. Obviously, the products we develop, invent, and provide to our customers have to be at high quality. But what's unique about us is not just the product. We really focus on the process, and I really want to emphasize that. The process is very unique in the sense that we really listen to the customers, and we develop IP on the long term based on real needs in the market. And through that process, that's how we get innovative products that are meaningful, that are also economical. So that's who Aevumed is.
And why is Aevumed in this business?
So we're a group of professionals that are from the medical device industry, and we see there's a lack of attention to this space. Today in rotator cuff tears, you have about 20% of patients that go through a rotator cuff surgery and repair come back for another surgery because they have something called a re-tear. And that's a huge problem. And we haven't seen any elegant solution yet. And we see that that's a need that the market is calling for. So that's one of the main reasons why we are in the space. There's a huge need, and we have a great solution for it.
So what are your company's areas of focus, Saif? So
currently, as I mentioned, we're focusing on soft tissue space, specifically in the shoulder. So we're actually migrating not just out of rotator cuff within the shoulder. There are other pathologies that we're addressing currently. But our long-term vision is that we can, apply our technologies, since it's for soft tissue, not only the shoulder, but also get into other areas in the body, such as foot and ankle, hand and wrist, and other parts of the extremity market. So our technology is really applicable to many areas, and we actually have a product that has FDA indication for some of those areas right now. So we're already making some headway in that space. So that's where we plan to go on the long term.
I just want to go back a question and ask a follow-up. As you know, I shared with you when we were doing our preliminary interview with you to get ready for the show that our viewers may remember that I had a Hurricane Sandy incident, and in 2012 needed rotator cuff surgery and humerus broken and all the rest of it. You mentioned the 20% of patients that wind up having to go back. Is that because they did not do rehab correctly, or is that because hardware has failed or something went wrong that the patient couldn't control?
Thanks for the question. Well, I'm glad thank you for sharing that information about your incident. But I'm glad to see you're doing better.
Yes.
But regarding your question, the major issue here is the healing process is not occurring. So it's one thing to apply a medical device to fix the tear, but then you're relying on the body to heal itself.
Right.
When you still relying the tendon to heal back to the bone, and so you're relying on biology. You're relying on the implant. So if you have a great implant, that's only part of the solution. So a lot of those patients are coming back. It's not because the implant is necessarily breaking or failing. It's because the tissue has been torn for too long. It's not vascularized, meaning that you don't have blood supply or enough blood supply or oxygen and other nutrients to keep the tissue healthy enough in order for it to heal itself. So clearly there is another need here that is part of the equation to make sure that the healing process is complete, so you can reduce those 20%. And obviously, patient compliance and behavior is a factor. So if they're moving, too aggressively, if they're not going through physical therapies, those could have an effect too. However, we're seeing that most patients are coming back not because of those factors. The dominant factor is the healing process is just not occurring, unfortunately.
Great explanation. Thank you. Do you have IP, proprietary IP?
Yes. So our strategy as a company is to come up with products on a progressive manner. And what I mean by that is we're not selling the final solution at the moment, but we are selling some implants currently. And that's going to be part of the solution. And the reason I bring that up is because we have a current implant on the market, we had to make sure that it's a great implant. One of the other issues we have is we're in an aging population all over the world. So every year we see more and more demand for products that work better in low bone quality. So we have our first product. We have a patent on that. That's why I'm bringing that up. We actually have a patent with a unique technology that allows us to stick our implant in a much more efficient way in the bone. And then we have other technologies. We have a product that's addressing the re-tear rates that we were just talking about. We have a provisional patent that was filed last year, and we're in the process now of filing a full patent on that. But those are not the only two products. We have another product that we're launching actually this year. We have filed a provisional patent for that, and we have one in the works as well. So we do have, again, a patent currently, and we have many other that have been filed as a provisional patent and are in the process.
How does FDA approval play into this, Saif?
Well, as you know, and many of your viewers, to get a medical device company commercialize and legally sell it in the U.S., you have to have something called FDA clearance for a medical device, and it depends on the classification of the device. I'm not going to get obviously too detailed into that. But we do need FDA clearance. Our products are Class 2 devices, so we do need to show testing and show data for a lot of aspects, not only the implant performance, but obviously the packaging and the sterilization of our products as well.
So do you anticipate other uses for your technology? And if so, tell us about them, please.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we're in the shoulder space right now, and through our products and our technologies and patents, we can certainly use them in other areas of the body. So we're being very strategic. We're not trying to spread ourselves out. Shoulder is about half the size of the extremity market. So that's one of the reasons why we're in this space, and rotator cuff re-tears is a huge problem. But through these technologies, we can certainly apply it to foot and ankles. We're seeing similar type of pathologies that have similar type of problems. They may have a little tweak to them, not exact, because just the anatomy is a little different. But overall, we can certainly use those technology in different spaces. We're already, with our current anchor that we have right now, it is unique. It has already a patent filed on it. So, we're planning on using that in different parts of the body, such as foot and ankle. That's one of our next steps, as well as hand and wrist right now.
But you guys tackled the most complex joint in the body first, didn't you? Am I remembering that right? That the shoulder moves like no other part?
You got that right. So
okay.
Obviously, what everyone hears about is hip and knees. There's probably the common joints that hear replacements, but the shoulder is actually the most mobile joint in your entire body. The range of motion is incredible, and it's a very unique joint. So yes, there are a lot of interesting issues and that can occur with the shoulder and that's why we're seeing these type of issues that have not been addressed yet.
Thanks, Saif.
Saif, we're actually running a little short on time, so about maybe a little less than 5 minutes. I'm going to jump around a little bit. You touched on earlier one of the biggest issues with the current procedures for repairing a shoulder that has a rotator cuff injury is the healing process. Not so much, you put the hardware in, but the body has to heal itself. Can you compare your product to what's currently being used on the market and how it's more effective, if it is, or more efficient in helping the body heal itself after it's put in the body?
Right. So interestingly, there aren't many products on the market right now that addresses this problem. But just to talk about a few of them, just two of them. One of them really focuses on something called partial tears. They're not a full thickness tears. So really for a re-tear, they're not designed for that kind of tear, which means that the surgeon has to perform a lot of maneuvering. It's not easy to use. Plus, the product is extremely expensive. Actually, I know a lot of surgery centers. I've been around some of them. They're actually not purchasing those products because they're very expensive, and some of them are inefficient. Some of them don't have the healing aspect to it either. Whereas in our product, we're really focusing on how you can deliver it very efficiently in a very unique manner, and it requires very minimum training, and it's affordable at the same time.
Okay. We got about 3 minutes. I wanted to ask you, what would success look like for Aevumed?
So a success is really, committing and achieving all the promises we have to our customers. Which means that they're excelling in life, so everyone's enjoying their life. And so obviously that's through our big vision, and currently our mission is really on just the rotator cuff currently, but we're certainly expanding at the moment. So when we see that our patients are doing well, we feel that is success, and through that success, we know that brings naturally business success to our investors as well. So that we see both go hand in hand. Okay.
Maybe one last question here. What are the biggest barriers to your entry into the this market currently?
Oh, well, there are many. I would say, obviously there's the capital side. You have every company has a specific business model. So finding the right investors that can understand that model is very important. So I'd say that obviously is a barrier, and every company has similar barriers. Another barrier would be just finding the right talent or the right people with the right mindset. People are really the company's biggest assets. Their philosophy, what's their goal in life, how does that fit in well with the company's goals and vision. So those are one of the major barriers. Another barrier obviously is the patent. We talked about that to some degree. We have to make sure that we're looking at the prior art landscape and we're not infringing on anyone. But not only that, but can we also create a patent? That's another issue. So there's the intellectual property barrier, and finally is finding the right surgery centers that we can enter in a very quick fashion. So I would say that's another barrier. How do you get into that market? And you certainly need to understand what kind of sales force you can build. So that's
Saif, I'm gonna cut you off there because we're just about out of time. I think we could do another whole show with you right now, but I want to thank our special guest, Dr. Saif Khalil. It was terrific. Charlie, thank you for co-hosting. The next guest on the show is Charles Snyder, the managing partner of Upland Business Capital. Thanks for watching this evening, and we will see you again next time.